our next our next step in the process here, guys, is to establish kind of what our sheet is going to look like. So I'll just pop open another web page real quick, and I'll just search for architectural working drawing. And what we're setting up here is what's called a title block. So a title block is essentially the border and format for all the information that indexes a sheet. So if you look over here on the right side, well, obviously you see that this really thick black line is a border going around the sheet. But if you look over on the right, that's more considered the actual title block, where it houses the architect's office information, the project title, more specifically the date it was created and what the page number is. So that's down here. A9 is this sheet's page number. So it's a very, very significant part of an architectural drawing. So what I'm going to show you about here in setting up our plan is to make sure that you're setting it up in a smart way. So rather than just drawing 1,000 lines on the sheet, and then when you go to your second sheet, you copy and paste it, what we're going to do is actually create a separate file. And from that separate file, we're going to link it in. So we're going to link it into our sheets, and then we're going to have instances of the same link. And the reason for that is, if I wanted to change, my logo to a different logo, or the project title to a different project title, I go back to the linked file, and I only need to change that information once. Elsewhere, where the information is actually individual to each sheet, that actually is live on the page, or it's set up as labels. I don't want to worry too much about labels because we're just doing simple drawing sets right now. And it's a little bit of an older technology to do it this way, but it is important to know in case you encounter it, which you probably will at some point. So first things first, I guess we'll just start off by understanding how to have two different files open in the same window, I suppose. I guess I'm trying to think of a more eloquent way of describing that, but I can't. So basically, up here when you see this little tab called box drawings, you can actually have multiple files open at once. Unlike Rhino, where you have to open another instance of Rhino to open a second file at the same time, here you can just open them up in tabs like it's a web page. And then also, if you hover over it, you can instantly jump to any of the layouts on that file as well, or model space. So when you go to the big A and new, go ahead and start a drawing. And we'll stick with the ACAD DWT drawing template. I'm going to turn my grid off because I can't stand grids. And just as a side note, guys, it's probably in your best interest to turn your grids off in your design software. Like even in Rhino, I turn my grid off like all the time because just from a fundamental standpoint, when you're designing, it's already not that great that you're deciding to design in a software package rather than design in a model format or drawing or sketching or something like that. So you probably should do that first. But when you get in here, you don't want to get hung up on your alignment to the grid. So normally I suggest that my students turn it off. It's up to you though. It's the little buttons down there, right next to the model button. So here's what we're going to do. I need to create a couple layers. I need a border. I need some text. I need lines that are not quite as thick as a border, that are kind of, just separation lines or something like that. And No, that's it. That's probably it for now. And then I'm going to keep a 0 layer line for my actual sheet size. So let's go ahead and start those up. So I've got 0 for my sheet. I'm going to do another one called border. I'll make that blue, I guess. It's up to you. I'll do another one for text. Make that red. And another one for, I'll just call it line. Why not just line? And I'll just make that magenta. So right now I'm kind of just guessing at the layers I'm going to need. I know I'm going to need a few, so I'm starting there. If I find that I have another purpose for another layer later on, all I have to do is just add another one, change it that way. So under 0 layer, this is where I'm going to first draw the size of the sheet that this title block is made for. So you can't really have a title block that's made for all sheet sizes. It won't work. So we draw it specifically for, I just activated the rectangle command, we draw it specifically for, from the origin, 8.5 by 11. Or in this case, because it's landscape, I'm going to do 11 by 8.5. So 11, comma 8.5. And notice real quick, I didn't change my units, and that's because when you're working in decimal, which is the standard way that the ACAD template is set up, that's working in inches. So when I say 8.5, it means 8.5 inches. All right, so here is my sheet. So from that, we can start to actually create a series of other lines that are going to create our border, our text block, sheet title, stuff like that. So rather than trying to, if I want to just kind of offset, say, a 1/2 inch from every side, rather than trying to just draw another box starting from 1/2 inch, and then trying to go 1/2 inch less, I'm going to do a command that's called offset, because I know that I want this line to go 1/2 inch away from the outside of the sheet. So offset, which you've seen in Rhino, is the same thing. You can do offset surface just like Rhino, and you can do offset curve. So when you activate the offset command, it asks you for a distance. The distance can be input either referentially by clicking from one object snap to another, or it can be input just by typing it in. So I type in 1/2 inch.
What's the size of the box?
8.5 by 11. Oh, that's right. 1/2 inch won't work because I didn't set it to architectural. So I just have to type 0.5. And then you'll get the little box picker tool, and you just click on the line that you want to offset like that. And now you see, as I move my mouse from one side to the other, it's going to pick. I have to click on which side I want it to go. So for me, I want it to go on the inside. So I click inside of my rectangle, and that's it.
What did you click in the top of it?
I don't recall.
Yeah, you said something about a little box.
Rectangle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was to create my sheet size. I'll go through it again real quick. So first step, create a rectangle. Second step, offset the rectangle. So I activate the rectangle command, 0, 0 to drop it at the origin. Then I say I want it to be 11 inches by 8.5 inches. So 11, 8.5. Then I activate the offset command. Tell it that I want it to go 0.5. Right now it's already set to 0.5, but yeah. And then you could type in 0.5 and hit enter, and then click on the rectangle, and click on the side that you want to send it to.
And the offset is just so you can set up the margin?
Yep, it's a margin. Yep, precisely. So I notice a lot of you guys are kind of, straining your neck to see the text down here. So what I'm going to do for you is pull this command line up to the top. So now you should be able to, why can't I yank it down? Weird. I'll do that. Alright, I don't know why it won't let me resize it. Huh. Alright, well, it'll be a little bit easier for you to see. Weird. Alright, are there any questions at that right now? Alright, so I'm going to do a quick sweep, make sure you all have your rectangle before we move on to other things.